We've seen Major League Baseball over the last several years have absolutely no problems getting inherently political, whether it's with Black Lives Matter shirts on the field, kneeling during national anthems, gay pride shit absolutely everywhere, incorporated into Major League Baseball at this point. But apparently for a Trump supporter who went to a Mets game wearing her MAGA hat, she was told, I'm sorry, ma'am, you can't wear that here. That's just way too political, which this story is kind of crazy. Trump supporter prevented from entering Mets Stadium with MAGA hat. Political discrimination. A Trump supporter claims she was prevented from entering a New York Mets stadium while wearing a Make America Great Again hat and labeled it political discrimination. And, you know, this is the woman in question who then did take a picture outside of Citi Field. Audra Moody, 64, claims she was made to remove her MAGA hat at Citi Field on Wednesday. And this was kind of the post that initiated some of this stuff from Christopher Joseph over on Facebook. This is another person who was terminated for refusing the vax. This is somebody who's become very involved in the Republican Party. And she just wanted to go wear her MAGA hat while a bunch of other people in the Republican group that she's in went to a Mets game. And for some reason, she gets stopped, told by a Mets employee, no, ma'am, you can't do that. That's a political statement. You're not allowed to do that. And after a series of arguments, she was told she couldn't even put it in her bag. She had to go back out to her car to put it away. She eventually did and walked back in. Now, to be clear, the Mets have responded. They've apologized. They've said, you know what, this employee misinterpreted our thing. That's not something that should have happened. But at the end of the day, this is just kind of a reality. If this had been a Biden hat or a Harris hat at this point, if this had been a Black Lives Matter hat, if this had been any sort of other political statement, this never would have fucking happened. But it happens because a black woman goes in there wearing a MAGA hat and gets told by Citi Field, by Mets employees, no, sorry, man, that's too fucking political. We're not down with that. From Major League Baseball. What a joke.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if maybe she was maybe started off being a little bit disrespectful or mouthing off to the employee. Like maybe the employee like gave her a sour look at first, which a lot of people do when they see people with MAGA hats. You know, they give them like a little side eye. So maybe she made a comment on the disrespectful look that this individual might have given her. You never know. I mean, it's not, I don't think that he just said, hey, you with the MAGA hat, you're not allowed in. There was probably some back and forth with some disrespectful comments that led him to take that kind of stance, is what I think is more realistic.
Well, according to
if that's what happened, that's not what the Mets said. So.
No, according to the article, the employee told her, hey, you can't wear it in here. She basically said, all right, I'll just put it in my bag. And the employee told her, no, you need to leave the stadium and put it in your car. So they just didn't want it in the stadium, period, even if it wasn't even seen. And the Mets did come out and say, hey, this person messed up, because 8 other people got into the stadium with MAGA hats.
Yeah, and probably were potentially going through different entrances or different like scanners or whatever, right? It was probably just a fucking rogue, fucking left-wing lunatic employee who didn't want this to fucking happen. Now, in terms of your theory, Beardo, like who knows about that? There's no reports about anything about
that person still represents the Mets, because it was a Mets employee that kicked her out.
Yeah. And it just does show like the double standard, right? And it's good of the Mets to very quickly get ahead of this and put it out there that, hey, this should not have happened. This was a mistake. Because if they had backed their employee or had not said anything, this would have been a ginormous shit show for them, especially with how much MLB has virtue signaled over the past couple years with left-wing politics and ideology.